Hello, PTG fans, Proxy Table Gaming. We are here with something we haven't done in a few weeks, a battle report.
Hooray!
Yeah, and I am with the Gobbo. Hello, Gobbo. How are you?
Good afternoon.
You're
Very
right?
well, yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. Happy New Year to you.
And you?
Thank you. Yeah, so PTG unable to do battle reports for the last few weeks because we ran out of tabletop battles. The big news I should get out of the way straight away is that we haven't been able to do any tabletop battles. So that hype limit, you were getting your hopes up for another tabletop battle, not quite what we're going to deliver today. It is a Universal Battle 2 battle report. So there you go. I've been opening up front from the off. So Gobbo's with me today. Lucky Sixes is a little bit distracted with his side project at the moment, which I don't know if you've heard of it, Gobbo. It's this tiny little tournament that happens in January time. I think they call it the Masters, but it's just one of those things. Not many people know about it, so not all
Is
that
it the
important,
Masters?
really. Yeah. Or it might
Vaguely
be
recall.
yeah, something to do with Ninth Age. I'm not probably
I've
nothing.
never been anywhere near it.
Yeah, nothing you or me need to worry about really. So we'll just leave him off doing his little thing. But in the meantime, I've managed to have a Universal Battle 2 battle, which is awesome. Not many battles going on at the moment, so I got in contact with Bristol Ninja, Matty Champion, very good bloke.
Good old Matty Champion.
Yeah, never played against Matt before. Dodged in all of the Art of War tournaments.
Got him game 4 out of War 3.
Ah, cool.
With his ID.
Okay, yeah. He has moved on to Vampires now. Vampire Covenant. Pretty much.
He shotgunned my Duke.
Oh, yes, of course. I think you told me about that directly after the battle, actually.
I was quite upset.
He pretty much switched over to Vampires as soon as the new ID book came out, which is kind of the reverse of what a lot of people do. A lot of people wait for a new book and then pick up an army. He pretty much waited for the new book and then abandoned the ID. Mm-hmm. So whatever, that's all fine. I think it was part of his plan anyway. He didn't look at the book and decide, no, I don't want anything to do with that. I think he decided he was going to be Vampires anyway. And he's been playing them for about 6 months, maybe a bit longer. Not entirely sure. But yeah, so we decided to have a game on UB. Did he beat you in Art of War?
Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Bless him.
There you go. Yeah. Always a gentleman about it, though, is Matt.
So, he is.
Yeah. And the thumbnail here, screenshot of Dread Elves for me. That's a bit funky, isn't it? Yeah, it's the Hyper-G 2021 Dread Elf project.
Nice.
Obviously, the 2020 Ogre project went horribly wrong. Well, actually, it was technically the it was technically the 2019 into 20 Ogre project, and obviously Art of War 3 didn't go overly well for ogres for me, so abandoned that idea. And 2020 being what it wasn't really much of a project for anyone.
Couldn't really rescue it after that.
No, exactly. So yeah, new Dread Elf book came out, and we're still due to do a Battle and Beer at some point with the 2 Dread Elf lists that myself and Lucky Sixes came up with. That's going to be scheduled in, hopefully. It's hard to really predict exactly when this battle report is going to go out, because I'm not sure when we're releasing it. It could be only 5 days from now, or it could be a week and 5 days from now. So it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what's going on at the time that we're recording this. But yeah, either way, this is my first Dread Elf battle with the new book. So we rolled up Dawn Assault and Secure Target on UB. I quite like Secure Target. I think it's simple enough. Just each grab an objective or try and get 2. Stop your opponent getting more than you, that sort of thing. And Dawn Assault is also pretty easy to get. It's just an empty corner. So nothing too strenuous there. This is my Dread Elf list, which I'm going to play in this battle. It is ever so slightly changed from the Dread Elf list building video. Basically, the longer I had to look at the Dread Elf book, the more I decided I wanted to change it. So, Battle and Beer, I'm still not sure whether it will be the list that I originally introduced, which is a version of this, or what I'm now playing, because obviously there's been a delay, which wasn't expected, between the Battle and Beer list building video and the actual Battle and Beer. So yeah, we'll see when we announce that date what I'm actually playing, or what whoever is playing, because it doesn't have to be me versus Lucky Sixes. It can be anyone versus anyone, as long as it's a Dread Elf Civil War. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, the changes between this list and the one that I advertised in the list building, basically the Beastmaster General has dropped a couple of items. He's dropped a halberd and the Pride of Gardeakos enchanted weapon. Basically, I decided that the Manticore General, whilst he's on a Manticore, I don't think I'm going to be playing him to fight much, because he's actually more of a supporting the other monster characters, the other monsters. Like, he has rules that give them maximized charge and stuff like that, and minimized discipline tests, all sorts of things. So I didn't really want to build up my Manticore too much, knowing that I was generally going to be protecting him and keeping him near my monsters. So I stripped him of a few items. Obviously, as well, the Dread Elf book changed ever so slightly from its original release, and all the command models went down by 10 points. So that gave me points to spend, and I had to do a bit of a rejig anyway in order to make it legal for this battle with Matt. So I also added in the Lightning Band Braces and Magical Heirloom onto my 2 Temple Legates. I should say, actually, Gobbo, have you had much chance to look at the Dread Elf book or anything? Because, I mean, you're really busy with painting and work and family. So all of this could be complete gibberish to you.
I like it, though. I can see by looking at the list the theme of it, and going a lot more down the Beastmaster route, which I think is quite cool. So we'll just see what it all does in a minute. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So apologies, Gobbo. I know that you are a little bit at the deep end with this, but
it's all right.
You know, you always have relevant things to say, so I'm not worried. What other changes did I add? I managed to add a rending banner on the first militant unit, which is useful because they are only strength 3, AP 0.
Militants are Witch Elves, yeah?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely spot on. And I added a couple of Temple Militants into the second unit, and an extra and a full command instead of just a musician, I think it was. Yeah, that were the only changes to the list. The rest is absolutely the same as it was. So over to Matty's list. I mean, you're probably more familiar with vampires than you used to be.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know how much of that you want me to talk about.
Do you want me to do it? Or do you want me to do it?
Up to you.
I'll do it. So independent vampire count. So he's got on the zombie dragon, which is quite fun. Again, only a wizard adept though on occultism, probably because he's on a vampire on a zombie dragon and costs about 7,000 points anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Lance, Magical Heirloom, and Obsidian Rock. So we're going to need a little bit of magic protection, but no other protections by the look of it, is there?
There's a limit to how much you can get when you're on a gigantic monster anyway, isn't there? You can't really get much of an Aegis save.
It is true.
And he's also got his Wizard Master Necro instead.
Yeah, that's the general.
Yeah, which is really good.
Staff as well.
I liked that his zombie dragon wasn't the general, so he could just go flying off wherever he liked, really.
Exactly. So the necromantic staff as well. So he's got 3 raises.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not too bad.
I actually asked him when he revealed that to me. I said, "Are you allowed to take more than one Arise spell? Because usually spells you can only have on 1 wizard each." And you are, so that's incredible.
You are.
3 versions. I knew that it was repeatable, but I was like, really? So all 3 of them could cast it one after the other? Just crazy.
Barrow King BSB as well with a hypnotic pendant, which I think is going to be distracting, isn't it?
Parry, actually. So similar effect, I guess. In different situations
as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite a common set of characters, really. They're nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tend to see many Barrow Kings actually, but it's nice to see.
In all the lists that I make and get horribly destroyed in, I take Barrow Kings.
Do you? You like Barrow Kings? I like Barrow Kings as well, to be fair. So you know.
But I like the Banner of the Barrows or whatever it's called now.
Of course, yeah.
+1 to wound mana.
That's with only a set family, though, isn't it? Or set. It's not independent, is it? That's one.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
I think you have to be.
Remember which one.
Neither do I. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But core wise, 32 ghouls is always a nice little unit. Skeletons for raising, zombies for raising, plus bat swarms. I don't really see bat swarms very much.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, they're like. Well, I think you've got to take bat swarms. They're the best chaff in the game at the minute.
Yeah,
I say that about every chaff that I haven't got though. So.
Yeah.
Anything that flies and is chaff, I love it.
Yeah. Then you got your Barry Guard.
Yeah, of course.
Halberds as well, which is nice, so they're not dropping their initiative that much.
Yeah.
Court of the Damned. So I'm guessing the Court of the Damned's going in with a Barrow Guard. Or is it going in with the ghouls?
Well, you'd think that. You would think that. I literally looked at Matt's list and I was like, where is it going? It could go anywhere. So, yeah. I just didn't know. Direwolves,
which are fine as long as you keep them near the vampire count.
Yeah.
Wraiths, I do like Wraiths, but again, I play Nosferatu, so I would.
Sure.
Then Vampire Knights as well. So he's got a couple of big hitters. It's quite a slow army, though, isn't it? By the look of it, apart from the general.
Yeah.
And the knights.
There's not so much flanking manoeuvres going on, apart from the knights, really. But, and the dragon, of course. But
yeah.
Decent, solid list.
Yeah, nice list. I like it.
So, deployment. And it looks weird, doesn't it, looking at UB rather than pictures. But, obviously we're going to be looking for feedback on what you think of this UB battle report as well. So I will go through what's what, because obviously it's less easy to see what's what, I guess. But then also proxy table gaming, you never really know whether you're looking at a real model or not, do you? So I'll start off with my unit at the top left. So we've got a Hydra, Colossal Kraken, then the raiding party, the Thunder Pack, Manticore, the smaller unit of Temple Militants on the left, the large unit of Judicators with one of my Temple Legates in there, the Divination one, the Mist Leviathan, and also then the large unit of Temple Militants on that side. And they've got the Crucible of Slaughter, Divine Altar in there. So that was the setup. One thing to mention actually with this list was that with my deployment rather was that Matty actually did me a massive favour right from the off, because the last thing that I deployed, I think he dropped for first, and one of the last things I deployed was my Temple Militants on the right, and when I deployed them I measured to make sure that my Mist Leviathan was within 8 inches of all my infantry, because it gives +4 march rate to the first turn, to my first turn. So I made sure that he was within 8 inches. And then just before we started the game, I moved my Temple Militants further out to the flank, forgetting that I'd put them near the Mist Leviathan. And Matty, being the absolute gentleman that he is, he said, no, you placed them there originally because of that rule. Forget about the when you moved them out wider. Go back to where you were. Because I suddenly realised that I'd made a blunder. So yeah, good man. And that meant that I could potentially use the Mist Leviathan's role, which is cool.
Nice.
This is after Vanguard, so he has moved his 2 units of Direwolves up. And let me tell you what everything else is. Zombie Dragon on the left.
Yep.
You got some zombies. There's the Wraiths, the Bat Swarms behind the building. You can see my mouse pointer, can't you, Gobbo? Yeah, you can. I thought you could. Wanted to check. On the left is the Ghoul unit. On the right is the Barrow Guard, which has his BSB in. And at the back is the Master Necromancer with the Court of the Damned in the skeletons. So yeah, didn't predict that.
No.
So interesting. And then behind the hill is the Vampire Knights. I think the Vampire Knights were deployed before he knew that he was getting first turn. Obviously, if he knew he was getting first turn, maybe he'd have been able to go onto the hill. Not quite sure.
Do you have much shooting?
No. I think I have 0 shooting, apart from a Hydra breath weapon.
Okay.
But having said that,
range.
no. 6-inch range, yeah. No, but neither has he. So
Yeah.
shooting phase, apart from well, I suppose you can't really call the wraiths shooting really, because they're they go through things and it happens immediately.
I just thought if he didn't have first turn and you've got no shooting, there's not much point in putting the vamps behind the hill.
Indeed, yeah. I don't know.
Just
Maybe the deployment zone was exactly there. Actually,
Mm.
that might be exactly 12 inches. Who knows? But yeah, there is that. Cool. So that is deployment, and it was Matty's first turn. He moved up, pretty much following his vanguard units. He knows I haven't got shooting, so he knows he doesn't need to rush things. So he's just moving forward, but not to within my charge range. And he's also aware that I've got a +4 march rate in my first turn, so I could really get on top of him if he comes too close.
Yeah.
Obviously, the +4 march doesn't help me at charge ranges, but he doesn't need to be too aggressive. We're both in it for the combat, so neither of us are standing off. There's going to be combat. It's just a matter of getting the right matchups. So there's that. One thing with his movement, though, which was a little bit unfortunate, was that Matty didn't realise that the range for the Touch of the Reaper spell, the one that is focused and allows you to sniper a character, he didn't realise that the range of that had recently been reduced to 18 inches. So his Necro is actually exactly 24 inches away from one of my Temple Legates in the Temple Militant unit on the right-hand side. And we only realised that when he tried to cast that spell with his last 3 dice, which I hadn't got any dispel dice left, and he realised it was out of range. I did say, did he want to redo his magic phase a bit? But he said no, it's fine. And I think he just, I don't know, maybe just did another spell. Probably, I don't know what.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too crucial. It was just he would have liked to have sniped my militant, obviously, my legate. Anywho, so into my turn. Matty was a bit disappointed that I managed to get my Hydra in the flank of the zombie dragon, which is cool, obviously. For me, it means the Hydra is not under any threat at all. Couldn't move much further, though, so I'm just sort of skirting around with my monsters on that side and keeping in range of the Manticore's 12-inch bubble for giving them maximised charge. At least the Kraken is, anyway, not the Hydra. Other than that, I moved my smaller unit of Temple Militants up behind the obstacle, and that gives them distracting to anyone who charges them. I was actually baiting for the zombie dragon to charge them. I wanted him to come in and take a champion's duel, and then me to absolutely wipe the floor with the zombie dragon with 2 flank charges from the Hydra and the Kraken. So we'll see if Matty falls for it in a minute. Other than that, you'll notice I didn't really use my +4 to march from my Miss Leviathan. So the whole rule that gives me, because it doesn't really do a lot else, I wasted it. It's only 265 points, so I didn't feel it was terrible not using that rule. But I decided not to get too close to him just yet, because he's got those dire walls. He can chaff me all day. So I just thought I'll take my time with this one, and I'll see what I can do with my magic and getting in the right position before I commit, basically. So there's that. What is this? Magic-wise, I just got Glory of Gold on my Temple Militants. He dispelled Quicksilver Lash on the Vampire Knights. Obviously, I tried to kill some Vampire Knights with a spell that bypasses armor, pretty much. But yeah, he dispelled that, and I got Glory of Gold off on the Militants, just in case the Vampire Knights were thinking about charging them. Because in that unit of Militants, I was only Strength 3, AP 1 with a Rending Banner. So if the Knights came in, they'd have 3-up armor save. And although, having said that, the Temple Legate in with the Militants does actually make them re-roll their armor saves, successful armor saves. So it's dicey either way, really. Maybe it isn't actually a charge that the Vampire Knights want at all. But with Glory of Gold off, I've become Strength 4 and +1 to wound and everything.
What's your static combat res on that unit, sorry?
On the Temple Militants, they're in horde formation, line formation, so they don't get rank bonus.
Okay.
It's all about killing. So yeah,
Fair enough.
it could be one way or another. Doing on a roller coaster with your camera. That's
Yeah, the blue tack's melting.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, but either way, we'll see if he goes for any charges in his turn. He doesn't. He basically moves up his direwolves to chaff me, which is kind of what I was expecting if I move forward. But this way, I've still got a bit of time or space to play with. I guess if I was further up, then the direwolves become killable, and then I give myself easier overruns. This way, if I charge the direwolves, the overruns, if there are any, are still quite long. So maybe I should have thought about that and using the direwolves as ways to stop him charging me, even if I move forward aggressively.
Himself,
that's a hindsight thought. I didn't think of it at the time. And also, I could have easily done that with the Mist Leviathans +4 march. But either way, I'm not too concerned about this situation. His ghouls and his barrow guard are very nicely positioned in the middle, one of which on the objective as well. So I've got to shift that unit. He didn't charge with the vampire on the dragon. Unfortunately, would have liked that, but can't be helped.
No.
Apart from that, so he cast Breath of Corruption on his zombie dragon and killed the whole temple militants. He was now in range of Touch of the Reaper, the 18-inch sniper version. But
that would come from the Necro, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would come from the Necro. He was in range of my Temple Legate characters. So I let the smaller unit of Temple Legate take a breath weapon, hoping he'd just roll like a double 1 on the breath weapon. He didn't. He killed 6. Oh well. But, it could have gone either way. So yeah, I saved my dice for Touch of the Reaper. And this is the sequence of events. So I will talk you through it. He had 3 dice left to cast Touch of the Reaper. I rolled a 1, 4, and 5. Which isn't all that high. It's an 11 with a Necromancer. I saved my 4 dice to try and get an 11. I rolled 1, 2, 3, 3. So obviously I don't dispel it, which is rather disappointing. And now my Temple Legate is in a bit of trouble if she takes 3 hits from it. He rolls the D3 and gets 3 hits. He rolls a 6, gets 3 hits on my Temple Legate, so I'm panicking. Wounding on a 3-up. Because of my discipline being 9, and he rolls 1, 1, 2. What a roller coaster of emotions in that magic spell! I mean, that's just crazy. It goes from him thinking he's not going to cast it, and I thinking I'm going to dispel it. Nope, he gets it off. Then he rolls 3 hits. He's thinking this is great, and then it just bites him in the ass and just says, "No, actually, you may as well have not cast it in the first place."
Yep.
Crazy. I mean, I don't know who's unlucky in that sequence. Me first, then him. Either way, nothing happens. What a wasted time. So in my turn 2, I declared a charge with my smaller temple militants from behind the obstacle on the zombies, needing a 10, I think it was. It might have been 11. But either way, I didn't feel there was much to lose by making that charge or declaring that charge. If I make that charge, I destroy those zombies very quickly.
Yeah, and you're behind him then, aren't you?
Exactly. I'm in his backfield. He's got no counter charge there. It would have been awesome. If I fail the charge, which I did, then the zombie dragon, I'm still baiting it to charge me and duel out with my champion. So I'm more than happy to take that as well. The Hydra cannot get into the zombie dragon's flank, but it is quite a long way away. So I'm happy enough standing off with the Hydra at the stage and then moving in later. The Wraiths can absolutely mince my monsters if I get too close. So that's not ideal. So I do need to be a bit careful. I was hoping by now, turn 2, I've still got turn 2 magic to come. I was hoping I would have been able to divination magic them a little bit and kill the Wraiths, one or two of them at least. Judicators charged the direwolves in the middle, and I decided to move the temple militants on the right backwards a bit, just to give myself a bit more time. They are movement 5, so they can easily take on the barrow guard. I've still got 4 more turns to do it. I don't need to force that situation. So yeah, I'm basically deciding to deal with the centre and then the right flank, doing one at a time, so that I can do my magic one or the other, rather than having to support both sides.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my theory, at least, anyway. Cool. I get Glory of Gold and Know Thine Enemy on my Judicators, just in case the direwolves don't die. No, they will die either way. But yeah, this was just to make
If they don't.
if they don't without those spells, I'd have been crying. But yeah, this was just to make sure that the ghouls countercharge wasn't as nice, basically. Cool. So into Vampire's turn 3. He moves up. Obviously, the direwolves just move up ever so slightly on the right. They're still chaffing me. And he's moving his Vampire Knights round, which is a little bit concerning. I don't really want them in the flank. They do need to be in base contact with the Temple Legate, I think, in order to get the reroll armor save thing. And the Temple Legate is in the front left at the moment of my unit. So there's that. He moves his Bat Swarms to chaff the Judicators instead of going for the Ghoul Charge, which is sensible. I'm very magicked up. So I think the Judicators would wipe the floor with the Ghouls if they went in at this point. So he's chaffed them. There is an overrun from the Bat Swarms into the Ghouls. It's only about a 9, maybe a 10, I think. So it's possible.
Movement 5, Elves.
Movement 5, and they've got the Banner of Speed. But obviously, Banner of Speed doesn't help with an overrun. But yeah, just straight up 2d6 on an overrun. He doesn't charge the smaller Temple Militants who failed the charge on the zombie. At least he didn't in the end. I hope you'll agree that I took a sportsmanship award. And Matt said, as we're playing a friendly game, I'll charge my zombie dragon into the militants. And I was like, well, as it's a friendly game, I don't think that's a good idea, Matt. And we had a bit of a chat about it, and he didn't actually realise that I'd got a champion in that small unit of militants. He didn't realise that he was going to be duelled out with one militant. He might have killed, well, he would have killed the militant champion and got 3 overkill. But I would have been steadfast. I've got my general, I've got my BSB. I'd have been, and they're fearless, so I would have been rerollable 9 on my break test. And then after that, I've potentially got a Kraken, Manticore charging the zombie dragon and killing the zombie dragon. And so hopefully I get a sportsmanship award for that. I dissuaded him from declaring that charge, and he ended up moving the zombie dragon there. I need more cutting edge, Gobbo. I need to be more.
You need to be ruthless, like lucky sixes. You're like me. It's a fun game. It's
exactly.
Not here to destroy.
Yeah. So either way, it means I don't kill the zombie dragon just yet. But yeah, no.
Just hold off. It'll come.
Yeah,
it'll come.
Exactly. Yeah. And I knew I'd done the right thing, because as soon as I said those Temple Militants have got a champion, Matty was like, oh, they've got a champion. Oh crap, yeah, I don't want to do that, do I? So it wasn't like he thought it was a good idea. He just didn't notice there was a champion. So you know, all is good. All is good. So what else have we got? Magic wise, he got Spectral Blades on his ghouls, and he got Rot Within on my Judicators, which meant they are -1 armor. Is that right? No, -1 offensive skill or defensive skill. It's -1 something.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. But either way, and he also got Touch of the Reaper off on my Manticore general. Yeah. I don't know what I was dispelling in this magic phase, because he got 3 spells off of me, which I don't know. I guess that's just vampires. They can use very few dice to cast lots.
Did you get rid of all his razors?
I guess so. I must have done something like that. Yeah. I decided to try the Temple Militants charging the zombies again. Matt didn't move them very far back, the zombies, and I went for the long charge again. This time I got it. And yeah, that charge is awesome for me.
Tasty, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say in advance, because it was so close I do not have an overrun into the side of the wraiths. So close.
It looks...
we were literally zoomed in as far as you can go on UB, and that not quite there. Not quite there. We decided. Yeah, but that would have been beautiful. I'm over as far as I can be as well. I can't go any further. So yeah. I was confident with my Judicators in the middle, decided to charge the Bat Swarms for another unit of chaff killing. Again, I'm focusing on the centre rather than the militants on the right. And I also reformed the militants on the right to now only be 7 wide, which meant the Vampire Knights couldn't actually get many of them in if they charged me in the front with the Direwolves. And I'd basically just mince up the Direwolves and kill the Vampire Knights on combat res. Rather than giving 3 Vampire Knights a chance to swing. So yeah, Matt's got to take a little bit longer on that right flank while I deal with the centre. So I'm very happy with that. Obviously, I crushed the bats and the zombies in one turn. That small unit of militants killed like 40 zombies.
Nice.
Obviously, it only killed like 20, but then combat res. So.
Matt.
It was a whitewash, absolute whitewash with the zombies. I couldn't overrun into the race as we decided. I knew that he was going to counter with the wraiths going through those militants and doing their Reaper or whatever it is. But I decided that it was more profitable for me to face the centre and cause him problems there rather than try and chase the wraiths all day. Because the wraiths are light troops, so they could easily just run rings around me all day. On another day, maybe I could have tried to get the wraiths as well, but I figure he's just going to make my militants not worthwhile. So I thought challenge the centre, and the ghouls are in a bit of trouble there with me Judicators and my militants. I also got Know Thine Enemy off on my Judicators again, which is cool because it gives them +2 agility. I should mention the Court of the Damned gives things within enemy within 6 inches -2 agility. So I kind of needed Know Thine Enemy to cancel that out a bit. So in the next turn, Vampire's turn 4, he does indeed do the little light troops jump on, jump off with the Temple Militants, with the Wraiths. Kills a fair few. Knew that was going to happen, but I'm still feeling fairly confident that unit of girls in the flank is still a bit nasty. What else? He was hoping. I mean, he moves the Vampire Knights around, and he doesn't do a lot of movement in the centre at all, really. He moves the Zombie Dragon back a bit. But he was hoping for Raise Dead to chaff my Judicators, because he obviously hasn't chaffed me. My Judicators are finally not chaffed. And he was hoping for Raise Dead. But I knew that. And I basically let him get Spectral Blades on his ghouls, and I let him get Breath of Corruption on his Zombie Dragon, which meant, again, the Temple Militants were going to die to another breath weapon, but it also meant I had dice to spell Raise Dead, or is it even called Raise Dead? Arise. No.
Arise.
No, it's the General's
the
one.
Dead Arise, right? Yeah.
The Dead Arise, that one. I didn't want a unit of zombies chaffing me from out the ground, so I basically stopped that. And yeah, I had to take a few casualties in order to do it. And obviously the ghouls having Spectral Blades isn't ideal, but it means I'm not chaffed. So that is good for me. Going into Dread Elves turn 4, I go for it with the Judicators. I'm not worried about Spectral Blades, or at least not too much. I think, what does it give? Reroll to wound, I think. He didn't get the boosted off, so it wasn't lethal strike. Not that they had a lot of armor. Yeah. So I've gone for it with the Judicators. I think the reason why I didn't declare it last turn, why I didn't overrun after killing the bats, was because if I failed the overrun, then he could have charged with the ghouls in the front and the barrow guard in the flank. And I thought that was too risky for a 9-inch overrun. If it was like 5 inches, then you've got to perhaps go for it. But I didn't want to fail the overrun. Whereas stopping him chaffing me in his turn and then getting this charge off with some extra Temple Militants in the flank I'm liking the Judicator's chances of killing all those ghouls in one turn.
Yeah.
And the overrun into his Necromancer, Master, and Skeletons is awesome. But you cannot take ghouls too lightly. They are still decent. So there's a lot that could go on there in that centre situation.
You're hitting before them, aren't you?
I am just... No, I think because of the court, we're hitting at the same time.
Right, okay.
Unless I manage to get Know Thine Enemy to give me +2 agility. Because I am agility 5, I believe, up to 6 on the charge. Down to 4. I don't know how it works, but we were definitely at the same time, I think. Oh no, I'm great weapons. No, that doesn't matter because I've got lightning reflexes. I can't really remember, but yeah, we'll see how the combat goes. You'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got my monsters ready to countercharge as well. They're hanging back, but they're ready to sort of clear up what's left. My militants at the top right, however, they failed a frenzy check, which meant they had to charge the dire wolves. That's not ideal. I didn't really want to do that yet. I wanted to deal with that centre situation and then deal with the Barrowguard. But what it does mean is that the Barrowguard have now got to decide what they're doing next turn, depending on what happens with the Judicators. So a lot could change in this turn. And also there's a potential long overrun for the militants into the Barrowguard. But again, do I dare risk that and leave a flank for the Vampire Knights? So, yeah, a lot going on here at the moment.
It's looking good.
This is the combat. Now, before I speak about the combat, you'll notice I seem to have skipped the magic phase. I failed all my spells.
Oh.
I got nothing off. Or Matty dispelled them, whatever. It was a horrible magic phase. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, really gutted by that. Because it's not so much I needed them for the Judicators, because I killed a heck of a lot of ghouls. That's after combat res as well, just to bear in mind. But if I could have just boosted them a tiny bit, then the ghouls would have definitely been dead. Similarly, I would have liked to have boosted the Temple Militants against the dire wolves. What's that?
The ones on the left, sorry. The militants, are they dead?
Yes, the militants on the left are dead as well. So that's obviously cool. But yeah, in regards to that, on the Temple Militants on the left, actually, interesting thing about that. The Temple Legate being with the Judicators, right, isn't really the ideal place for her because she has Blades of Darag and she gives -1 to hit against Blades of Darag for the enemy. So the ghouls only had -1 to hit against the Temple Legate, not the Judicators, because she can't give that rule to the Judicators, basically. However, what I should have remembered is that the militants in the flank should have also had -1 to hit for the ghouls. So the 3 ghouls on the left flank should have been hitting those 3 Temple Militants on 5s instead of 4s. I forgot that. That's part of not being quite so familiar with Dread Elves, I guess, especially not a new book, because Blades of Darag didn't even exist before. But his 3 ghouls on the left with 6 attacks killed all 3 Temple Militants. And they actually rolled 5 hits, 5 wounds. I saved 2 of them on 6-up armor saves and lost exactly 3 models from those 3 ghouls attacking to the right. All it would have taken is a -1 to hit, and I wouldn't have taken 5 wounds, I don't think. And so if I'd have got even 1 Temple Militant alive in the flank, then I'd have had a flank added to my combat res, and I'd have had 1 less death added to the combat res. And you'll see there's 3 ghouls remaining after that combat res. All I needed was to win that combat by 2 more, and those 3 ghouls are gone. And if I'd have just remembered -1 to hit against my militants from the Blades of Darag,
that would have done it.
That would have done it. Obviously, there's nothing. Matt could have still rolled 5-ups on all 6 of his hits, but I was gutted when I realised that, and I didn't realise it till well after the battle. I told Matt about it, obviously, so he knows, and we laughed about it. But yeah, gutting that he's got 3 Gauls left. So I didn't get the chance to overrun into his Necromancer, which is a shame. I reformed around the centre, knowing that the Beauregard have got a big decision now as to what they do. And also, Matty's got a big magic phase to potentially grow back a whole load of Gauls. So, yeah, interesting. So this was another interesting scenario that we had to get all close for. In the Vampire turn 5, he declared a charge with only his Court of the Damned out of the skeletons into my Judicators. We went through a whole load of can he do it, and we had to check like the war platforms. Are they allowed to charge out of their units? Yes, they are. My war platform, the Divine Altar, isn't, for the record, but his is allowed. And also, did he have to go right next to that 3rd Ghoul in order to maximise? Answer being no, because all of my Judicators are engaged, so he is allowed to go there where we've got him. And if he had have gone right next to the Ghoul, he wouldn't have been able to fit, because he'd have been overlapping his skeleton unit, probably. But because he can go right on the edge, corner to corner, he doesn't quite overlap his skeleton unit, and therefore can charge out of them. I mean, that one was so close again. I just said, you're okay, you can do it. It's too close to say, no, you can't. And also, there's the factor that after the court has charged out of it, the skeletons have to reform. So they would technically, their centre stays the same, but they would actually move backwards away from the coach to give it even more room. It's just unclear when all those things happen to combine.
Yeah.
And I basically said, yeah, it's fine, we'll go with it. And also my Judicators was doing something really weird with the models. You can see how my models are lined up. It like that 2nd rank is squeezed up, the 3rd rank squeezed up. I don't really get how that's worked. But we said it was okay, basically. And as much as I would have loved for that Court of the Damned not to charge, because it's going to hurt me. End of the day, he could make it, so in he went. Rules bashing, man. My militants obviously had killed the direwolves on the right-hand side, and because of the court getting into the Judicators, he charged his Beauregard into my temple militants at the top right, and moved his Vampire Knights round to help them in a prolonged combat.
How are you feeling about that?
Delighted.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, actually, genuinely delighted. That might have come across as sarcastic. I was really happy with it.
Oh,
I think the Temple Militants can give them a good go. I love Temple Militants. I loved Witch Elves. I love, Blades of Nabbed, what they used to be in between. And this is the kind of fight that I think they can thrive in. Beauregard are no joke. Absolutely. So I don't think it's a walkover or anything like that. I don't think Matt's made a bad move by charging them, but I am just really looking forward to that combat to see what happens. I wish it wasn't Matt's turn, i.e. he can get a chance to buff them with magic. I wish I'd been the one charging, but I did decline the overrun in the last turn because I didn't want to leave a flank to the Vampire Knights, so it's my fault that he's charging me. But also he's got the problem where he actually has to raise some ghouls in order to win that combat in the middle. So hopefully his magic can't boost the Beauregard too much. And it's generally down to who can fight best, and militants versus Beauregard. So obviously Matt also keeps his ghouls on the table rather than removing them, because he knows he's raising them back, which is gutting, but hey. So, basically, that's how many ghouls came back. He went from 3 to 15. That
must be multiple raises, isn't it?
That was 2 raises. They regained D6 plus 4. And he gained 12 overall. So yeah, it is obviously multiple casting. But he rolled we can work it out, plus 4, so that's 8. Not overly high actually. D6 plus 4. 2d6 plus 8.
Plus 4.
It was only 4. Maybe that's quite low actually. Oh no,
Yeah.
that's after combat. Actually, I've killed a few more as well. So
I see.
we can't actually work that out. That's how many's left after the combat. So yeah, there were a few more raises in there. But yeah, the Judicators run. There are left to only one. So what happened with me and the ghouls has now happened to Matt. He's only got one Judicator to kill, but I get away. And he doesn't declare the charge to run after them either. So they live another day. Over here, a bit of a bloodbath again. But my militants hold their own.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And because you're 7 wide as well, you got rank bonus.
Exactly, yeah. They weren't re-rolling their armor save because Beauregard are only 4 up, not 3 up. In fact, they're 5 up. So the Temple Legate's rule didn't come into effect there. But yeah, held their own. I can't remember who was if I was testing or if he was crumbling, but it was a very close combat. And it is my turn next. So I'm still feeling pretty confident about that situation because I definitely go first next at the start of my next turn. I think I went first in this one anyway. But obviously he had enough models to attack me back with a fair amount. Next turn, when I go first again, I'm starting to reduce his attacks against me. So I'm feeling good about that situation.
Yeah.
And obviously, if all goes well and I kill the Beauregard, the Vampire Knights being in my flank doesn't matter because I can just reform, hopefully, or deal with them one way or other. And to help them in my turn, I charge the Mist Leviathan into the flank of the Beauregard because it's got like a few attacks and a stomp, and the Manticore gives it maximized stomp, so that helps. My Thunder Pack are just meandering around, don't really have a use for them, couldn't get them through by the monsters, which was disappointing. But the big thing about my turn 5 charge phase was that I popped the Beastmaster rule, the Beastmaster's Whistle, on my Kraken and my Hydra to allow them maximized charge. So they were actually rolling 4d6 for their charge ranges, which is awesome. I don't even know what the average on that is maximized because I've taken the 2 lowest away. But it's probably like a 9 or 10, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to... Someone help me out with that in the comments. So what's the average for a 2 dice maximized charge? Because it was Thrift Stride and maximized, so 4 dice. My Kraken needed an 8 to get into the Court of the Damned and failed. Gutted about that. My Hydra, on the other hand, needed a 10 to get into the Ghouls, and he makes it. So I don't know what the Kraken was doing. Yeah, disappointing that my Kraken's not in. But yeah, now my Hydra can chew up the Ghouls. I rallied my Judicators and my BSB, so that's good. They were rallying on a 5, and they did. So they're back in the game. But yeah. Now, this is after combat. Beauregard are gone. Amazing. Temple Militants.
It's good.
So good. And I didn't even lose that many. There weren't many Beauregard left to fight after I charged them.
So about eight losses by the look of it.
Yeah.
3, 4, 6, about that.
Not a lot at all. Not a lot at all. So awesome. My Hydra chews up the Ghouls. I'd given it Hatred from the Beastbreakers special rule from the raiding party. So he was re-rolling his hits. He had maximized Stomp from being near the Manticore. And he overruns into the Skeletons. Matty had been very clever in his previous turn, and the Necro had now moved to the right-hand side. So I wasn't actually in contact with the Necro. But yeah, and also he'd moved the Zombie Dragon away. So the Zombie Dragon is doing nothing, basically, which is awesome for me. But yeah, the Zombie Dragon was scared of the Kraken, basically. There's a multiple wins D3, which is understandable. Yeah, so I reset my line with the Militants to face the Vampire Knights, and the Hydran's going to go chomp chomp. This is, however, my turn 5, and the objectives, I only have 1 scoring unit left on... well, 2 scoring units, the Judicators, who rallied in the middle, and probably aren't going to stay on the board very long, because it's coming up to Matt's turn 6, and my Militants on the right, who have to deal with the Vampire Knights. So I'm not looking very strong at getting those objectives, whereas... Matt has got the skeletons within 6 inches of that objective marker. So he is looking at winning 1-0 at secure target unless my Hydra can kill the skeletons. So we'll see.
Because his court can't turn around there, can he? To face your Hydra.
Well, I think it can. It can reform. You pick it up and drop it now, don't you? As opposed to
I thought the centre had to stay the same, though.
Don't know. That's another one for the comments. Because, yeah, I'll pass on that one. But you'll also notice I've also skipped my magic phase again.
Oh, yeah.
Again. Failed miserably. Utterly useless.
UB dice?
I guess so. I'm not going to blame it on that, but it was dice.
No.
So, yeah. So, an all-important...
Oh, my giddy aunt.
All-important turn 6 for the vampires. He first declares a charge with the wraiths into the Kraken. And the Kraken actually took 2 wounds from something. I think it may have even been a breath weapon. Not sure. But the wraiths can actually do a bit of a deal on the Kraken because they're strength 5, AP 2.
You'll struggle to hit the wraiths as well, wouldn't you?
Exactly. There's some reason why that's not a great combat for me. Depending on how many wraiths I can actually kill myself, because they'd get a 3-up Aegis save against my Kraken's attacks, which isn't great for me. But I actually held the wraith charge, and then he followed up with the zombie dragon charging the Kraken. And even though my Kraken is good against the zombie dragon, I can't have the wraiths all attacking him. It would be a really tough decision as to what my Kraken is attacking. So I fled the zombie dragon, hoping that my Kraken can rally on a 9 with the Manticore there, and it would be minimized, cold-blooded, basically, discipline test for the Kraken. So I fled it, knowing I'll probably keep my points. Matt's zombie dragon fails his redirect, and so just stumbles forward in his turn 6.
Oh,
and so I basically avoided getting to combat with the zombie dragon. That's 900 points of vampire that I've mostly negated. Good. I was delighted by that, providing I couldn't rally my Kraken, of course. Otherwise, I've given him 400 odd points back. In that scenario.
Again, the wraiths and the zombie dragon have been pretty much just on the flank the whole game, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I've managed to actually get my Hydra in to do something. Kraken,
that
obviously.
Unit's still going to be around about 400, 500 points, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's 480, 490, something like that. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't got a champion, so it isn't a Wizard Conclave, which makes it slightly cheaper, but still. Meanwhile, in the centre, because there's a lot going on in this picture, he charges his Court of the Damned into my Judicators. I was forced to flee with them because I know that his impact hits will kill the Judicators and the Temple Legate.
Yeah.
At least that's what I thought. In hindsight, maybe I could have risked holding that charge, and my Temple Legate had a 4-up Aegis in combat. Which, if he rolls badly on his impact hits, maybe the Temple Legate can hold that combat. As it was, I was going with hoping to rally them on a 5 next turn, which won't be rerollable because the BSB is in there. I want to rally them first, which will give my Kraken a reroll on his discipline test. But I went with fleeing. Maybe if I'd held, I might have been able to survive the Court of the Damned, but it's not likely. So who knows whether that was the right call or not. Yeah. He then fails his redirect with the Court of the Damned, so can't redirect that into either the Miss Leviathan or the Manticore, which he was tempted with. So a whole load of failed redirects going on as well. We then spend a whole load of time trying to work out if the Temple Militants can do a shifty little reform to get within 6 inches of that objective marker, like going 1 deep, or whether or not he needs to charge his Vampire Knights into them. We worked out that it was possible for me to do a reform to get within 6 inches of the objective marker, which, with my being the last turn, meant if the skeletons survived the Hydra, I could draw the objective by doing a Yankee reform move with those militants. Not ideal in terms of sportsmanship, but it's a rule. You can do it. People do it.
It's a rule.
And I said, unless you stop me reforming with those militants, I'm probably going to try and get the objective that way. Let's be honest. I wanted to draw the objective or win if my Hydra defeats the skeletons. In regards to the Hydra and the skeletons, he raises...
How many did you raise?
So many. It's just a nightmare. He maximised the unit. He rolled 2 raises and got pretty much maximum raises on his D6s or whatever he rolls. I don't even know what skeletons raise. I think they're D6 plus 4 as well, aren't they? But I think he actually couldn't put enough skeletons on because they reached double their original size. So that Hydra, chances are he's not getting through those skeletons, which means he's not stopping them get the objective. And that leads him to basically chaff my militants with his vampire knights rather than charge them and then my militants kill them or have a chance of killing them on static combat. So he actually chaffs them so that my militants cannot reform because of the... I can't remember what it is. I think I'm within an inch of the vampire knights and I can't. There's just not enough room for me to get reformed within 6 inches of the objective marker. So he has chaffed properly. Yeah. There's that. Now, one thing I failed to do in Vampire's turn 6... we're coming up to it. I don't know if I've got a picture for it. Yes, we do have a picture for it. This is the end of combat. I kill a whole load of skeletons, but I make my biggest mistake of the battle. The forgetting the Blades of Darag -1 to hit thing was obviously a bit crucial for that combat, but this is what I failed to do. At the end of this combat, after I've killed the skeletons, I choose not to combat reform with my Hydra. Can you spot why I should have combat reformed with my Hydra? He doesn't either.
Could you get into base with his Necro?
Bingo, I could have done. There's very little chance that I'm stopping those skeletons get the objective now. At the end of his turn 6, there were too many of them. The Hydra's not killing that many a turn. I should have reformed to get in base contact with his Necromancer, and the Hydra with a lot of attacks, and the beast, the Lash Masters, they could have easily pumped a 3-wound Necro.
600, 700 points?
And General.
Yeah.
Big mistake on my part. Nonetheless, we carry on. I charge the Vampire Knights with the Militants and the Mist Leviathan. Easy decision there, because I can't reform to get in within. I did actually originally say to him, can I combat reform to then be in a Yankee position and get within 6 inches of the objective marker? But there's actually a rule that says you can't combat reform to do that in the last turn. So that's good for him. Because I totally would have done if I'd have won that combat and then combat reform to be within 6 inches of the objective. But anyway, in the middle, my rallies, the Judicators do not rally on a 5, and they flee off the board. So that was a shame. If I hadn't have fled with the Kraken, then my Judicators would have remained on the board, and I've only to give up half points for them, even though they were... And in fact, the Judicators, he'd have got full points because they were decimated. But the Legate, I'd have only given away half points for her, and not the BSB bonus, if they didn't have to flee through the Kraken. So maybe I should have held with the Kraken in order to give my Judicators a better flee path. But
how many points is the Leviathan?
The Leviathan, the Mist Leviathan.
Sorry, the Kraken.
Kraken's about 450, something like that. So
okay.
She might be a bit less, actually. I should know that offhand. Yeah, not sure. But it's a fair amount of points. It may be similar amount of points that I gave up for the BSB. So, hindsight, yay. Anywho, the Kraken does rally, and I assisted that by not charging with the Manticore. I turned down the Manticore charge on the zombies. He could see over them. Or could he? He can fly over them. Yes, he's got tall. He's large, and the Court of the Damned is large, but the Manticore has tall. So I could have declared a charge on the skeletons, but I wanted to keep my Manticore close to my Kraken so that I could have minimised discipline tests.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'd have managed to charge, if I'd have succeeded in charging the Manticore into the skeletons, I could have got into the Necro again. So maybe again that would have been a better call, and hoped that the Kraken rallied on a not rerollable 8.
Do you think the Manticore could have taken the Court of the Damned?
I didn't think so. Not without a magic weapon. Not to the extent that I could have got points for it. I might have been able to do wounds to it, but
into the Court of Damned, overrun into the Scullies. Then
there's that option as well. But obviously, then I'm not within discipline range of the Kraken. So yeah. That Kraken may have cost me this whole game because I babysat it rather than let it just fight or let it go. There's a song there. But who knows? Who knows? But yeah, my Hydra is obviously not in touch with the Necro either. So, I got the Hereditary off, finally, for the first time in this battle, on the Vampire Knights, just to see what it did. So basically, every wound that the Vampire Knights did to my militants potentially hurt the Vampire Knights back, which is pretty cool. So we got a sample of how that worked. This was another sequence of events that I took. So let me talk you through this one. This one's funny, really. Probably didn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things. My Hydra attacks first. They're just the Beastmasters with the Hydra, so you can ignore them mostly. That was basically me killing one skeleton, so ignore the first 3. Matt's 4 skeletons got 3 hits and rolled a 666 to wound my Hydra.
Oh my word.
Now, that potentially gives him half points if I don't save any of them on the Hydra. But what it also potentially does is gives me 3 extra attacks on my Hydra because he's got rage. So it wouldn't actually have been a terrible thing for me, my Hydra, to get 3 extra attacks. Because that would have meant I could have killed 6 extra skeletons, potentially. But my armor save, I save one of them with a 4. And then my 5-up fortitude save, I save both fortitudes. And because I rolled a 6 on one of those fortitudes, I actually heal a wound on my Hydra, which means I have 1 less attack than I did before he attacked me. That's crazy, isn't it? So now I'm going from potentially killing 6 more skeletons to 2 less with my attacks. God. Yeah, strap in. Anyway, well, I should have said that at the start of the battle. Killed a load of these. I only lost 2 militants. The Hereditary helps me kill a couple more. And yeah, the Vampire Knights are doomed. And this is how the battle ended. Killed a whole load of skeletons, as you can see, but not enough to stop them claiming the objective.
Awesome.
So Matt wins the objective. But I've got a decent amount of points on the board, and I've killed a fair amount of vampires. What do you think?
I'm going to go 12-8 first. However, the objective swings it for Matt.
You are good, Gobbo. You are good. Exactly right. Matty picks up the 11-9 win because of the objective. But I'll tell you one thing more. How many victory points did Matt get to push it into a 12-8 instead of a 13-7? It was within...
Was it your BSB?
No, less than that. It was within 11 victory points.
Oh, my word.
I mean, I know that I rave about how I beat Alistair Parran at Black Country Brawl by 1 victory point. But hey, the gods came back to bite me on this one because I lost this game by 11 victory points. Like points, not VP, like unit points. If I'd have got if he'd have got 11 less points, I'd have won 13-7, and then we would have had a 10-10 draw. Crazy.
Blimey. That's good though. I really like close games. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Did you enjoy playing the Dread Elves?
I loved it, and I will be playing more of them.
Good.
So, I'm aware that I've rabbited on for quite a long while here, and I usually do with my battle reports. So sorry, Gobbo. I know I keep you longer than I promised.
That's all right.
So I'm not going to summarise too much. I kind of summarised during the event anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed that battle report. Let me know what you think in the comments. Good to be back in the battle reporting world for PTG. There will be more, not to mention all of the Masters stuff that Lucky Sixes are doing. Stay tuned for all of that. It's awesome. Yeah, we'll see you in the future for more. Let me know what you think of the UB format, because it's probably here to stay for a little bit. Wicked, we'll sign off there. Thanks, Gobbo, for your company and thoughts.
Thank you very much for having me.
See you later, folks.
Take care.